Before the sleep aid industry existed, before melatonin came in a bottle and pills were marketed for rest, people slept with the help of plants. A root dug from the earth, a flower steeped in hot water before bed, a vine that climbed the garden fence and found its way into the evening cup. For thousands of years, these were the tools people reached for when sleep would not come. In this video, we are going to look at 3 of those plants, the ones with the longest history, the most documented evidence, and the most practical everyday uses, not to replace medical care, but to remind you that nature has always had something to offer. The pharmacy was always there. It grew in the ground.
Share this video with a friend or family member who struggles with sleep. They deserve to have this information. Like the video so that more people searching for natural sleep support can find it. Every like genuinely helps this content reach the people looking for it.
Valerian root, the ancient root of natural sleep. Valerian is one of the oldest sleep remedies in recorded human history. Its use as a plant that calms the mind and encourages rest dates back more than 2,000 years. The ancient Greek physician Dioscorides listed it in his medical writings in the 1st century of the Common Era, describing it as a remedy for restlessness and sleep difficulties. Galen, the Roman physician whose work shaped European medicine for over 1,000 years, also recommended valerian for insomnia. In medieval Europe, valerian was so widely trusted as a calming plant that it was cultivated in monastery gardens alongside other essential medicinal herbs. The monks who grew it understood that rest was not separate from health, but central to it.
The name valerian is believed to derive from the Latin word valere, meaning to be strong or to be well. This is telling. For the people who used it, valerian was not a sedative in the modern sense. It was not about knocking yourself out. It was about being well enough to rest, about quieting a mind that would not stop, easing a body that held tension, and allowing sleep to arrive naturally rather than forcing it. During the First and Second World Wars, valerian was widely used in Britain and Europe to treat what was then called shell shock, the nervous exhaustion and anxiety that soldiers and civilians experienced under the weight of prolonged stress. It was prescribed by doctors, dispensed by pharmacists, and drunk as a tea in households across the continent. By the time synthetic sedatives arrived in the mid-20th century, valerian had been in continuous medical use for roughly 2,000 years. That is not coincidence. That is a track record.
Modern research has worked to understand why valerian does what centuries of human experience suggested it could do. The primary active compound is valerianic acid, which has been found in laboratory and clinical studies to interact with GABA receptors in the brain. GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid, is the brain's primary calming chemical messenger. It slows down nerve activity, reduces anxiety, and promotes relaxation. Many pharmaceutical sleep aids and anti-anxiety medications work by enhancing GABA activity. Valerianic acid appears to do something similar, though more gently and without the dependency risks associated with prescription sedatives.
Multiple randomized controlled trials have examined valerian's effects on sleep. A systematic review published in the American Journal of Medicine analyzed 16 studies and found that valerian improved subjective sleep quality without producing side effects. Another review in the journal Sleep Medicine Reviews looked at clinical trials and concluded that valerian may improve sleep quality with a low risk of side effects. Studies have found that valerian is particularly effective when used consistently over 2 to 4 weeks, rather than as a single-dose remedy. The compounds appear to have a cumulative effect, building their influence on the nervous system over time. It is worth being clear about what the evidence does and does not show. Valerian is not equally effective for everyone, and some studies have shown modest or mixed results. The research is not unanimous, but the combination of 2,000 years of consistent human use and a plausible biological mechanism, GABA receptor interaction confirmed in laboratory settings, makes valerian one of the most credible natural sleep supports we have.
Valerian root tea. The most traditional preparation is a tea made from dried valerian root. This is how it has been consumed for most of its recorded history and remains a highly effective method. Take 1 to 2 teaspoons of dried valerian root and add it to 2 cups of cold water in a small saucepan. Bring slowly to a gentle simmer and let it simmer with the lid on for 10 to 15 minutes.
Simmering, rather than simply steeping, is important. The active compounds in roots are bound more tightly than those in flowers or leaves, and require sustained heat to be released properly into the water. Strain thoroughly and drink warm, approximately 30 to 45 minutes before bed. The taste of valerian root tea is earthy, strong, and distinctly unpleasant to many people. It has a characteristic pungent, almost musty aroma that comes from the isovaleric acid it contains. This is normal and is not a sign that anything is wrong. A generous spoonful of honey or combining it with a milder tasting herb like chamomile or lemon balm makes it considerably more palatable without reducing its effectiveness.
Valerian root tincture. A tincture is an alcohol extraction that concentrates the active compounds of a plant and preserves them for long-term use. To make a valerian tincture at home, fill a clean glass jar loosely with dried valerian root pieces. Cover completely with food-grade alcohol at 40 to 50% strength. Plain vodka is the most practical choice. Seal the jar tightly and store it in a cool, dark place for 4 to 6 weeks, shaking it gently every few days. After 4 to 6 weeks, strain through a fine cloth, pressing the root firmly to extract every last drop, and bottle the liquid in a dark glass bottle, clearly labeled with the date. A standard dose is 2 to 4 milliliters, taken in a small glass of water or diluted juice approximately 30 to 45 minutes before bed. A tincture made and stored correctly will remain effective for 2 to 3 years, making it a practical preparation to have ready at home. Because the dose is small and the alcohol is diluted in water before drinking, the alcohol content of a standard dose is negligible.
Valerian root capsules, standardized extract. For those who find the taste of valerian tea or tincture difficult to manage, standardized extract in capsule form is a practical and effective alternative. Look for products standardized to contain a consistent level of valerianic acid. This ensures each capsule delivers a reliable amount of the compound most associated with valerian's calming effect. The typical dose used in clinical research ranges from 300 to 600 milligrams of extract, taken 30 to 60 minutes before bed. As noted earlier, valerian tends to work best when used consistently over several weeks rather than on a single occasion. Give it at least 2 weeks of nightly use before drawing conclusions about whether it is working for you.
Valerian as part of a night routine. One of the most practical ways to work with valerian is to build it into a deliberate sleep routine, rather than treating it as a standalone remedy. The nervous system responds well to predictability. When the same sequence of calming actions happens at the same time each evening, a warm drink, dim light, reduced noise, the body begins to associate that sequence with the approach of sleep. Valerian tea or tincture fits naturally into this kind of routine. Prepare it as part of a sequence that might also include dimming the lights in your home an hour before bed, reducing screen use, and taking a few minutes of quiet before lying down. The plant supports the process. The routine signals the direction. Valerian is generally well tolerated, but several precautions apply. It should not be combined with pharmaceutical sedatives, sleeping pills, or anti-anxiety medications, as it may enhance their effects unpredictably. Avoid driving or operating heavy machinery after taking valerian, as it can cause drowsiness. Pregnant and breastfeeding women should not use valerian, as there is insufficient safety data for these groups. Some people experience a paradoxical effect, increased restlessness or vivid dreams, particularly in the first few days of use. This sometimes settles with continued use or a lower dose. Valerian should not be used in children without professional guidance. Long-term daily use beyond 4 to 6 months is not well studied, so periodic breaks are advisable.
2. Chamomile, the calming flower of night rest. Chamomile may be the most widely drunk herbal tea in the world, and its association with calm and sleep is so deeply embedded in popular culture that it has almost become a cliché. But behind that familiarity lies a genuinely ancient and genuinely serious medical history. The ancient Egyptians dedicated chamomile to their sun god Ra and used it to treat fever. The ancient Romans used it medicinally and as a flavoring. Anglo-Saxon England listed chamomile, known then as mathan, as one of the 9 sacred herbs in a 10th century medical text called the Lacnunga. Across medieval Europe, chamomile was planted near homes and pathways because it released its calming apple-like scent when walked upon,
and its flowers were brewed for digestive complaints, nervous tension, and sleeplessness. For much of recorded Western herbal history, chamomile occupied a position of quiet authority. It was not dramatic or exotic. It did not carry the mystique of rare plants from distant lands. It was simply there, growing in fields and gardens, available to anyone, and reliably useful. The German word for chamomile, Camilla, gives a sense of its cultural embeddedness. In Germany, chamomile is still sometimes called alles zutraut, meaning capable of anything, reflecting the breadth of its traditional uses. It has been drunk as an evening tea to ease anxiety and encourage sleep in homes across Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa for centuries without interruption.
The compound most responsible for chamomile's calming and sleep-supporting effects is apigenin, a flavonoid that binds to specific receptors in the brain associated with relaxation and the reduction of anxiety. These are the same benzodiazepine receptors that certain anti-anxiety drugs target, though apigenin binds to them much more gently and without the dependency and withdrawal effects that pharmaceutical drugs in that class can cause. Clinical research on chamomile sleep effects is growing. A randomized controlled trial published in the journal Medicine found that chamomile extract significantly improved sleep quality in elderly adults compared to placebo, with participants reporting better sleep onset and fewer nighttime awakenings. A study published in the Journal of Advanced Nursing examined chamomile's effects on postnatal women experiencing sleep difficulty and found that those who drank chamomile tea daily for 2 weeks reported significantly better sleep quality and fewer symptoms of depression than the control group. A further study on adults with chronic insomnia found that chamomile extract improved daytime functioning and reduced the time it took to fall asleep.
Beyond its sleep effects, chamomile has well-documented anti-inflammatory and digestive properties. This is relevant to sleep because digestive discomfort, bloating, cramping, mild indigestion, is one of the most common physical reasons people lie awake at night. Chamomile addresses both the nervous system and the digestive system simultaneously, which is part of why an evening cup of chamomile tea has such a long and widespread history. It is not just calming, it is settling in a broader sense.
Chamomile flower tea, the classic preparation. Chamomile tea is one of the most forgiving and accessible herbal preparations. Take 1 to 2 heaped teaspoons of dried chamomile flowers and pour freshly boiled water over them in a covered cup or teapot. Cover while steeping. This traps the volatile aromatic compounds that carry some of chamomile's calming properties and would otherwise escape with the steam. Steep for 10 to 15 minutes. The longer you steep it, the stronger and slightly more bitter it becomes. Strain and drink warm, 30 to 45 minutes before bed. The taste is mild, floral, and slightly apple-like, genuinely pleasant without any sweetener, though honey can be added. For a stronger preparation that more closely resembles the doses used in clinical studies, use 2 to 3 teaspoons of flowers per cup and steep for a full 15 minutes. This produces a more concentrated infusion with a deeper flavor and a higher concentration of apigenin.
Chamomile and honey infusion. A particularly soothing evening preparation combines chamomile's natural calming compounds with the gentle sweetness of raw honey. Chamomile is rich in apigenin, a flavonoid that interacts with receptors in the brain associated with relaxation and the reduction of anxiety. When consumed as a warm infusion in the evening, chamomile tea helps signal the body that it is time to wind down. Pairing it with a small amount of raw honey adds another subtle layer of support. Blood sugar fluctuations during the night are a common but often overlooked cause of sleep disruption. A teaspoon of honey provides a mild, slow-releasing source of glucose that can help keep blood sugar levels more stable through the night, which may reduce the likelihood of waking up suddenly during the early morning hours. To prepare this drink, brew a strong chamomile tea using 1 to 2 teaspoons of dried chamomile flowers and freshly boiled water, allowing it to steep for about 10 to 15 minutes. After steeping, let the tea cool slightly until it is comfortably warm rather than hot, ideally below 60 degrees Celsius, since excessive heat can degrade some of the beneficial enzymes and compounds present in raw honey. Once the tea has cooled slightly, stir in a teaspoon of raw honey until it dissolves completely. The result is a warm, floral, gently sweet drink that is both comforting and practical as part of a calming nighttime routine.
Consumed about 30 to 45 minutes before bed, this simple preparation can become a small but meaningful signal to the body that the day is ending and rest is approaching. Chamomile tincture. Chamomile tincture is a concentrated herbal preparation that captures many of the plant's calming compounds in liquid form. The method follows the same basic process commonly used for other herbal tinctures. Dried chamomile flowers are loosely packed into a clean glass jar and then fully covered with food-grade alcohol that is typically between 40 and 50% strength. The alcohol acts as a solvent, gradually extracting the active compounds from the flowers over time. Once sealed, the jar is placed in a cool, dark location and left to infuse for 4 to 6 weeks. During this period, the alcohol slowly absorbs the plant's aromatic oils and flavonoids, creating a potent herbal extract. After the infusion period, the liquid is strained through a fine filter or cloth and transferred into small dark bottles for long-term storage. The resulting tincture provides a stronger and more concentrated preparation than chamomile tea. Because the active compounds are already extracted into the alcohol, only a small amount is needed. A typical serving is about 2 to 3 milliliters, diluted in a small amount of water and taken shortly before bedtime. This format can be particularly useful for people who want the calming and sleep-supporting properties of chamomile, but prefer not to drink a large cup of tea late in the evening. Tinctures are easy to store, have a long shelf life, and can be taken quickly without preparation, making them a practical option for those who want a consistent and convenient way to include chamomile in their nighttime routine.
Chamomile steam and aromatherapy. The aromatic compounds in chamomile, including bisabolol and chamazulene, which give the essential oil its characteristic blue color, have calming properties that work through inhalation as well as ingestion. A chamomile steam inhalation before bed is a gentle and pleasant way to engage with these aromatic compounds. Place a generous handful of dried chamomile flowers in a heat-safe bowl, pour near boiling water over them, drape a towel over your head and the bowl, and inhale slowly and deeply for 5 to 10 minutes with your eyes closed. This is a practice with centuries of precedent in European folk medicine, and one that fits naturally into a pre-sleep wind-down routine. Chamomile essential oil diluted in a carrier oil, 2 to 3 drops in a tablespoon of sweet almond or jojoba oil, can also be applied to the pulse points on the wrists and temples, or a few drops can be added to a warm bath taken an hour before bed. The warmth of the bath itself encourages sleep by raising the body temperature slightly and then allowing it to drop. A drop in core body temperature is one of the physiological signals the body uses to initiate sleep.
Chamomile in the night routine. Like valerian, chamomile works best when it becomes part of a consistent evening sequence. The body is deeply responsive to habitual cues, and a warm cup of chamomile tea drunk at the same time each evening in a quiet environment becomes, over time, a signal to the nervous system that sleep is approaching. Its active compounds.
Chamomile is one of the safest and most widely consumed plants in the world, but a few precautions apply. People who are allergic to plants in the daisy family, which includes ragweed, chrysanthemums, and marigolds, may also be sensitive to chamomile, as it belongs to the same botanical family. Reactions are uncommon, but can include skin irritation, hay fever-like symptoms, or in rare cases, more significant allergic responses. If you have known allergies to related plants, introduce chamomile cautiously. Chamomile may mildly enhance the effect of blood-thinning medications, so those on anticoagulants should use it in moderation and consult a doctor. Pregnant women should avoid medicinal doses of chamomile, though a cup of chamomile tea is generally considered safe in moderation during pregnancy. Checking with a healthcare provider is always advisable.
3. Passionflower, the quieting vine of deep relaxation. Passionflower is one of the most visually striking plants in herbal medicine. Its flowers are elaborate, almost architectural, with a complexity that looks designed rather than grown. Spanish missionaries arriving in South America in the 16th century were so struck by the flower structure that they interpreted it as a symbol of the Passion of Christ, hence the name. But long before European contact, the indigenous peoples of North and South America had been using passionflower as a medicinal plant for generations. The Cherokee people used it to treat restlessness and weariness. Other indigenous communities across the Americas used it for anxiety, tension headaches, and as a calming plant for people in states of emotional distress. When European colonists encountered passionflower and learned of its calming properties from indigenous communities, they brought it back to Europe, where it was adopted into folk and formal medicine relatively quickly. By the late 19th century, Passionflower was listed in the United States National Formulary, an official pharmaceutical reference, as a recognized treatment for nervousness and insomnia. German Commission E, which evaluates the safety and effectiveness of herbal medicines and is one of the most respected bodies of its kind in the world, later approved Passionflower for the treatment of nervous restlessness. It remains one of the most commonly recommended plants for anxiety and sleep difficulty across European integrative medicine today.
Passionflower contains a family of compounds called flavonoids, particularly chrysin, vitexin, and orientin, that interact with GABA receptors in the brain, similar to the mechanism of valerian. Chrysin, in particular, has been studied for its ability to bind to benzodiazepine receptor sites and produce anxiolytic, anxiety-reducing effects without the sedation or dependency risks of pharmaceutical drugs that target the same receptors. Clinical research has produced encouraging results. A randomized controlled trial published in the journal Phytotherapy Research compared Passionflower to the pharmaceutical anti-anxiety drug Oxazam and found that Passionflower was equally effective at reducing anxiety symptoms, with the significant advantage of causing less impairment of job performance during the day. A further study published in the journal Phytomedicine found that Passionflower extract significantly improved sleep quality in adults with insomnia, with participants spending more time in deep sleep stages compared to placebo. Another randomized trial found that adults who drank Passionflower tea for 1 week reported significantly better sleep quality than those who drank a control beverage, as measured by standardized sleep quality questionnaires. What makes Passionflower particularly interesting compared to valerian and chamomile is its specific usefulness for the kind of sleep difficulty driven by an overactive mind. Where valerian works broadly on the nervous system and chamomile on both nervous and digestive tension, Passionflower appears especially suited to the experience of lying awake with thoughts that will not stop, the looping, circular thinking that prevents the mind from releasing into sleep. Traditional herbalists consistently characterized it this way, and the clinical evidence around its anxiolytic effects supports that characterization. Passionflower tea. Passionflower tea is made from the dried aerial parts of the plant, the leaves, stems, and flowers together. Take 1 to 2 teaspoons of dried passionflower herb and pour freshly boiled water over it in a covered cup. Steep for 10 to 15 minutes, keeping the cup covered to trap the aromatic compounds. Strain and drink warm, 30 to 45 minutes before bed. The taste is mild, slightly grassy and earthy, with a gentle floral note from the flowers. Most people find it pleasant enough to drink without sweetener, though honey can be added. For people dealing with particular restlessness or an especially busy mind before sleep, Passionflower tea can be combined with chamomile in equal parts for a preparation that addresses both the mental and physical dimensions of sleeplessness simultaneously. This combination is one of the most commonly recommended in European herbal medicine and has a long practical history of use. Adding a small amount of dried lemon balm to this blend adds a further gentle layer of calming and gives the tea a pleasant, slightly citrusy lift. Passionflower tincture follows the same preparation method described for valerian. Dried herb packed into a glass jar, covered with 40 to 50% food-grade alcohol, sealed and stored in a dark place for 4 to 6 weeks, then strained and bottled in a dark glass container. A standard dose is 2 to 4 milliliters in a small glass of water, taken 30 to 45 minutes before bed. Tincture is particularly practical for passionflower because it is more concentrated than tea and can be kept and used for up to 2 to 3 years, making it a reliable preparation to have at hand without needing to brew a fresh tea each evening.
Passionflower in evening ritual. The traditional use of passionflower was often embedded in what we might now call a wind-down practice. Indigenous communities who used it did not simply take a plant and go directly to bed. The plant was part of an evening rhythm, preparation, quiet, transition from the activity of the day to the rest of the night. Working with passionflower in this spirit is still the most effective approach. Prepare a cup of passionflower tea as part of a deliberate sequence. Lower the light in your home, reduce or eliminate screen use, and spend 15 to 20 minutes in a genuinely quiet activity. Reading, gentle stretching, or simply sitting without stimulation while drinking the tea slowly. The plant is doing something real in this context. The ritual reinforces it.
Dried passionflower as a sleep pillow. A practice with roots in European folk traditions is the use of dried herbs placed inside or near a pillow to create gentle aromatic exposure during sleep. Passionflower is one of several plants traditionally used this way. A small cloth pouch filled with dried passionflower herb, combined with dried lavender and chamomile for additional effect, placed inside the pillowcase or on the bedside table, creates a subtle aromatic environment that engages the nervous system through the sense of smell throughout the night. This is a gentle, passive use that requires no preparation and has no risk of overconsumption.
Passionflower aromatic steam. Like chamomile, passionflower can be used in a pre-sleep steam inhalation. Place 2 to 3 tablespoons of dried passionflower herb in a heat-safe bowl. Add near boiling water, drape a towel over your head and the bowl, and inhale slowly for 5 to 10 minutes. This is a particularly useful practice for people whose sleep difficulty is driven primarily by anxiety and a racing mind, as the aromatic compounds engage the nervous system directly through the olfactory pathway, one of the fastest routes to the brain's emotional and regulatory centers.
Passionflower is generally well tolerated, but several precautions are important. It should not be combined with pharmaceutical sedatives, sleeping pills, or anti-anxiety medications, including benzodiazepines and related drugs, as it acts on overlapping receptor pathways and may enhance their effects unpredictably. Pregnant women should not use passionflower medicinally, as some compounds in the plant have historically been associated with uterine stimulation. Breastfeeding women should also avoid it due to insufficient safety data. Do not drive or operate machinery after taking passionflower in concentrated form. Some people experience mild digestive upset or dizziness, particularly at higher doses. Starting with a lower dose and increasing gradually is always advisable. As with all the plants in this video, those taking prescription medications of any kind should consult a healthcare professional before adding passionflower to their routine.
There is something worth sitting with here. The 3 plants in this video, Valerian, chamomile, and passionflower, have been helping people sleep for centuries. Thousands of years in the case of Valerian, across dozens of cultures in the case of chamomile, across 2 continents and multiple indigenous traditions in the case of passionflower. These were not fringe remedies. They were the trusted tools of physicians, midwives, monks, and ordinary households. They worked often enough, reliably enough, across enough different times and places to be passed down through generations as knowledge worth keeping. What modern research has added is an understanding of why they work, the GABA receptor interactions of valerianic acid and chrysin, the apigenin in chamomile binding gently to the same receptors that anti-anxiety medications target, the specific usefulness of passionflower for a mind that will not quiet itself. The science did not invent the remedy, it explained it. Sleep is not a luxury. It is the foundation of everything else, of memory, of mood, of immune function, of the ability to manage stress, of basic cognitive performance. When sleep is consistently poor, everything suffers. And the modern world has made good sleep harder in a variety of ways that no single plant can fix on its own. Screens that delay the body's production of melatonin, schedules that cut sleep short, stress that the nervous system carries into the night. These plants are not a solution to all of that, but they are a real and time-tested part of a response to it, one that works with the body rather than overriding it, that carries no dependency risk, and that has a history of human use stretching back further than almost any pharmaceutical drug in existence. Begin simply. A cup of chamomile tea tonight, 30 minutes before bed, in a room with the lights turned down. A jar of valerian tincture prepared and ready for the weeks of consistent use that will tell you whether it works for you. A small pouch of passionflower and lavender near the pillow, on the nights when the mind will not stop. These are small things. They cost very little, and they carry behind them the weight of thousands of years of people finding in the same plants the same quiet help. Nature has always had something for the night. It still does. If you want to keep exploring what plants can genuinely offer, backed by real history and real science, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. We publish a new video every week. There is a lot more to discover. Subscribe, share, and let us know in the comments which plant you are going to try first.
Thank you for watching. Rest well.